Okay, we're going to go through the 6.1 to 6.3 review for advanced algebra. The first problem, we need to factor 2xy plus 4x squared y minus 12x to the fifth y to the fourth, and enter that answer using the math keyboard. So you definitely need to practice this one. So first I've got 2xy plus 4x squared y minus 12x to the fifth y to the fourth. First thing I want to think about is, what do the numbers have in common? 2, 4, and negative 12. I can definitely divide all of those by 2. Then x's. This first one has just an x. This one has x and x. This one has x, 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 x. I can definitely take one of them out. So I'm going to take one x out of all of them. And they all have at least a y. All right. So 2xy, if I divide it by 2xy, will be 1. That is the most commonly missed part of this problem. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared divided by x, and it's sometimes helpful to write this underneath. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. Y divided by y, that cancels out. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. X to the fifth divided by x is going to be x to the fourth. Y to the fourth divided by y is y to the third. Okay, the most commonly missed part is when you do 2xy divided by 2xy, it doesn't just leave nothing. Like when you cancel everything out, there's at least a 1 there. You have to have a placeholder. Because if I was going to multiply this back out, I would do 2xy times something to get 2xy. So that 1 has to be there. All right, now entering this into the review on EdSite, because this is very, very similar to your test. You type in 2, and you can use your keyboard or this. xy, again, you can use this or you can use your keyboard. And then parentheses, and notice it gives you the opening and the closing parentheses. 1 plus 2x minus 6x. This is your exponent button. You raise it to the fourth, but do you see how the cursor is still up in the exponent? You have to hit the right arrow to get out of the exponent, and then y raised to the third. If you don't, you would end up with x to the fourth, y to the x to the 4y to the third. Like it would be messy. So make sure it looks like you intend it to look before you move on to the next question. This one's multiple choice. Factor the polynomial if possible. 8x to the third minus 6x squared plus 20x minus 15. Anytime there's a 4-term polynomial, you're going to factor by grouping. First, you should always check to see if there's a greatest common factor. The last term doesn't have an x, so we can't pull an x out. And the first 3 have 2 in common, but 15 doesn't. 15 would be 3 and 5, and no, they don't. So factor by grouping, you're going to split this after the second term. These first 2 terms, 8 and 6, we can divide both of those by 2. X to the third, x squared, you want to take the smaller one, so x squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X cubed divided by x squared is x. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. X squared divided by x squared cancels, so it'd be like a 1, but 3 times 1 is still just the 3. Bring the plus sign down. 20x and negative 15 have 5 in common. 20x divided by 5 is 4x. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. You need these 2 sets of parentheses to match. If they don't match, you did something wrong. Your factored form is 2x squared plus 5, 4x minus 3. And it might not be in the same order, or it might be, but you need one of the parentheses to be a 2x squared plus 5, the other parentheses to be 4x minus 3. Factor the trinomial and fill in the blanks. x squared minus 7x plus 10. We are looking for two numbers that multiply to give us, we do 1 times 10 or just 10. Those same numbers have to add up to negative 7. If this doesn't pop into your head, that's fine. Think about ways you can multiply to get 10. You can do 1 times 10 or you can do 2 times 5. I know 2 plus 5 is positive 7. So negative 2 and negative 5 is negative 7. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. So x minus 2, x minus 5. And this is set up so that it does not matter which way you put this. You could put x minus 2 here, or you could put x minus 5 here. And there's no math keyboard. You just use your own keyboard to type in x minus 2. You don't need any spaces. X minus 5. Nothing fancy. Just type it in with no spaces. Okay, this kind of trinomial looks a lot more complicated than it really is. It's really, really similar to x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we're going to treat it the same as this. There just happens to be a y in there as well. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 6 and add up to 5. That would be 2 and 3. So normally we would do x plus 2 and x plus 3. The only difference is there's a y somewhere in there. And I like to think about this term. That term is created by doing this term and this term multiplied together. So 2 times 3 is 6, but we also need y squared, so there needs to be a y in with both of those. So our actual answer is x plus 2y, x plus 3y. But what I want you to see is, with the answer choices given to you, if you can factor this thing, you're good to go. If you know that it's 2 and 3, positive 2 and positive 3, look for the answer that has a positive 2 and a positive 3, and you're good to go. Okay, this problem, if you try to factor it like the way that I've taught you, I would factor out a 4 first, but notice that they didn't do that. So if we actually wanted to factor this entirely without using the answer choices to help us, we'd have to do 40 times 12, which is 480. We'd have to find two numbers that multiply to give us 480 and add up to 4. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to use more of a guess and check method using my answer choices to help me. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try this 5x. If there was a 5x here, 5x times 5x would give me 25x squared. I need it to be 40x squared. So it's definitely not 5x. So I'm going to use this answer eliminator tool and get rid of those two because I know it's not that. Okay, so it has to be 8x. 5x times 8x gives me 40x squared. So that's good. 5x times this thing and 3 times 8x, that's going to give me the two terms in the middle that should add up to 4x. Then the 3 times this number has to give me plus 12. Look at our answer choices. 3 times something has to give us positive 12. Negative 8, that'd be negative 24. Negative 4, that'd be negative 12. Positive 4, that would be positive 12. So this needs to be a positive 4 because then 3 times that 4 gives us the positive 12. So my method here was 5x times the first number has to give me this 40x squared. The second number, the 3 times the last number is going to give you that last term. The stuff in the middle is just, it's going to take care of itself. So really focus on 5x times that first term has to give you 40x squared. The 3 times that second term has to give you the 12. That should be enough to help you figure out which one is the correct answer. This one you actually have to factor it all yourself and fill in the blanks. So 9x squared minus 44x minus 5. Don't forget, when you have a number in front, you have to multiply the 9 and the -5 together. So 9 times -5 is -45. We need two numbers that multiply to give us -45. Those same numbers have to add up to -44. Anytime that you're multiplying to one number and adding to a number that's like 1 off of that, it's going to be 1 and 45. So it's 1 and -45. Okay, now a lot of you prefer factor by grouping, so I'll do that first. So I would do 9x squared, what did I just write there? Plus 1x minus 45x minus 5. So you take that minus 44x and split it between the 1 and the -45. Okay, factor by grouping right after the second term. 9x squared and 1x just have x in common. 9x plus 1. -45x and -45. The first thing is you have to drop that negative down, and they have 5 in common. -45x divided by -5 is positive 9x. -5 divided by -5 is positive 1. So our factored form is x minus 5, 9x plus 1. Okay, so x minus 5 and 9x plus 1. Notice I didn't use any spaces, nothing crazy. Now, if I had decided to do this factor by grouping, or not factor by grouping, guess and check. Okay, because my numbers are 1 and -45, that 1 tells me that this is going to be 9x and 1x. 9x times something is not going to give me 1x, it's going to give me -45x, so that needs to be a -5, because 9 times -5 is -45. X times something has to give me 1x, so that has to be a 1. So my factored form is 9x plus 1, x minus 5. I just feel like that's a whole lot less work, and if you like fitting puzzles together, it helps. And there's a lot less room for error. If you do factor by grouping and you screw up this one thing, it can be screwy. So I prefer guess and check. I think it's a lot simpler and a lot quicker to get to your answer. Completely factor the trinomial. And notice there are 3 blanks for us to fill. That's a huge hint that maybe these 3 terms have something in common that we can pull out of all of them. So first the numbers, 4, 8, and 60. We can definitely pull 4 out of those. And they all have at least an x. So I automatically know that this first blank is 4x. All right. 4x to the third divided by 4x would be x squared. -8x squared divided by 4x, -8 divided by 4 is -2, and there's an x. -60 divided by 4 is -15, and the x is being taken out. Good news, x squared plus 2x, or x squared minus 2x minus 15 is a fairly easy problem to factor. Looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give us -15 and add up to -2. The only ways to get 15 are 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. 3 and -5 would fit that. So we've got x plus 3, x minus 5, with the 4x in front. So the other blanks are x plus 3 and x minus 5. Again, no spaces, nothing funky, just get that stuff in there as simply as possible. And that is it. Let's see how we did. Uh-oh, what did I get wrong? Because it might mean I have a problem with my thing. Oh, I will fix that because we chose the correct answer. That one is not the right answer. So I will fix that so that it doesn't count it as incorrect. And then we should be good to go.